Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from February 27th that I'm just getting to now because I was on vacation. And this is from commentary.org, and it's by Seth Mandel, and I say his name specifically because it's a good follow on YouTube, and if you are not on YouTube, I'm sorry, on X, is a good follow, but I don't know if he has a YouTube channel now that I think about it, but I bring this up, his name up because if you're someone like me who is one of God's chosen people and you're just kind of want to see about what's the situation going on with all the anti-Semitism around the country right now, well, he's a person that you should definitely follow because he stays on top of that. And I'm trying to myself. So this article is called Everyone Knows What You Mean When You Say Zionist. Yeah, and we have a lot of folks out there, especially on the far left and anybody that says Free Palestine, that they seem to conflate Jew with Zionist and vice versa. They seem to use those words interchangeably, but as this topic, this title says right here, everyone knows what you mean when you say Zionist. So let's see what Seth has to say. It says, sometimes you really can't explain a complex problem in one brief sentence. Today's New York Times carries a story on the resignation of another co-chair of another Harvard task force on anti-Semitism, the latest in a series of debacles for the university. But in mentioning the origins of the current task force, the Times gives us a pretty good idea of why Harvard has been such a disaster on this issue. Says Alan M. Garber, who took over as Harvard's interim president, created two new task forces, one on anti-Semitism and one on anti-Muslim and anti-Arab bias. It's funny how they always seem to conflate those two things together, and it only ever seems to really be going in one direction, and that's the anti-Semitism that keeps happening. Like, where is the anti-Muslim and anti-Arab bias? I just don't see. I don't see, Jewish people out there saying that we need to destroy Islam or get rid of Muslims. This is not a thing. Definitely see it the other way, though. But we're all the people going around, assaulting people because they're openly Muslim. Is that a thing? I haven't seen anything about that. It certainly happens the other way. But anyway, let's keep going. It says, it has apparently become a strict law of nature that you may not address anti-Semitism without doing so apologetically and without Islamophobia getting a cut of the action, as I was saying. Seemingly every statement by a politician or a school administrator decrying anti-Semitism must be all lives mattered into the ground before anyone hits send. Says, in fact, if you listen closely, you will usually only hear anti-Semitism spoken as part of a new word the political class has cooked up. Okay, let's try to read. Anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. All right, I don't think that's an actual word, and he probably just made that up, but I get what he's trying to do. Says, of course, says the official after a campus quad rings out with the mellifluous harmony of genocidal taunts against Jewish students, I deplore all expressions of that very large word that I'm not going to even try saying again. Says, the Harvard-specific background of the story is also worth highlighting. Past President Claudine Gay, she of the plagiarism scandals, appointed a task force on anti-Semitism and then promptly sabotaged it. Her successor appears to be doing the same. The most recent co-chair to step down from the commission is Rafaela Sadun, a Harvard business professor. She was made co-chair in part to balance out co-chair Derek Penzler, who has downplayed the level of anti-Semitism at Harvard and has been dismissive of its victims. Sadun was the co-chair who wanted the task force to succeed, so it's no surprise she's the one who stepped out. Says the point of the Harvard task force is to take people on campus who have the desire and the credibility to fight anti-Semitism and force them into quicksand committees where their criticism will remain internal in perpetuity. Yeah, I said that right? Right. Says Harvard seeks to silence and co-opt its critics. Pay close attention to whether other elite schools do any better. Not cutting that out. And I'm going to say it's probably no. One reason these institutions feel comfortable operating in such bald bad faith is that much of the media follows suit and speaks euphemistically, very much including the New York Times. Always a source of trusted information, the New York Times. For example, when explaining what got Claudine Gay into trouble in December, the Times writes, on December 5th, she testified before a congressional committee and gave legalistic answers when asked whether Harvard would punish students who called for the genocide of Jews. She gave legalistic answers, you see, and that's in scare quotes, that gave legalistic answers. So what actually happened is that she accepted calling for the mass murder of Jews from the rules against harassment and would not say that Israel had a right to exist as a Jewish state. She deleted the word Jewish from the formulation, in fact, and ACT made very clear where she stood on both questions, right? As the Times also describes some of the social exclusion Jewish students are feeling at Harvard. Quote, some Jewish students say they have given up their kippahs or skull caps for baseball hats. They say they now keep their Zionist beliefs to themselves in classrooms and residence halls, end quote. Yeah, so basically Jews have had to go back into hiding in America. How about that? That's a great thing we're doing there, right? So it's got to be careful not to show your Zionist kippahs and your Zionist phylacteries while making your Zionist blessings and reading your Zionist Talmud or lighting your Friday night Zionist candles. As yesterday, University of California, Santa Barbara student president Tessa Wexler showed the many signs around campus aimed at Zionists. The formulation was generally some version of Zionist not allowed or Zionist not welcome. And I did actually see these, and you should, because the article is linked below, click on this and see what she has been going up against, because it's very hateful. It's essentially people doing like what a certain group of Germans did during a certain Second World War way back when, to Jews as well. I mean, it's literally the same playbook. It says that Zionists are not welcome message was also found somewhere else, carved into a door next to a mezuzah. And if you don't know, that's what a mezuzah is to folks out there. It's the little thing that's on Jewish people's doors when you walk in. You can see it on like the, in the doorway. It says, in the case the graffiti wasn't clear enough, the scribbler drew an arrow pointing to the message from the message to the mezuzah. It says, no one is just finding out that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Everyone already knew that. But many people were content to lie about this fact and claim ignorance. There is no real debate about what people mean when they say Zionists. There is only the low-rent kabuki theater that passes itself off as debate at various U.S. colleges and in the pages of the New York Times. Similarly, administrators at Harvard are not failing. They are succeeding wildly at what they believe to be their jobs, and that's why the competent members of their task forces keep resigning, and that is the end of the article. So it didn't quite get into everything I thought it was going to, but I see where he was going with it. It was just, switching around, like I said at the very beginning, the word Zionist for the word Jew, and they just keep saying Zionist, like I'm anti-Zionist and stuff, and it reminded me of, there was a live stream, I'm not going to say on whose live stream that I was listening to. It was something that had nothing to do with political stuff. It's all like pop culture and just regular, everyday sort of crap. And one person on this panel specifically said, and I don't remember what this was in regards to, but she said something like, oh, I'm all for, Jews defending themselves, but I'm not for that, like that Zionist stuff. And you could see the chat suddenly went after her. I shouldn't say went after her. They kind of were like, what do you mean? Like, you're anti-Zionist? Like, what do you, like, kind of just like, what do you mean by that? And she never answered. But it's kind of like, all Zionism is, for people out there that don't know, is just the right to Jewish self-determination, the right that Jews can have their own homeland. Okay, that's it. Okay, so tell me, like, why Muslims are allowed to have, like, essentially the entire Middle East. Christians have Europe and America, and actually both Americas, really, and chunks of Africa. Okay, and Jews aren't allowed to have anything? And before you say that land isn't theirs, well, we know it is. There's actual archaeological evidence that Jews have been in that area of the world for at least 3,000 years. Things that didn't exist 3,000 years ago were Islam and Palestinians. Palestinians are actually a very recent creation. In fact, you could probably, if you're in your mid to late 40s, such as myself, your parents are probably older than the creation of Palestinians. Okay, and I made a video on that as well way back when that you could probably find. I don't remember what it was called or anything. But yeah, I mean, so I think the point of this is just that we know what you mean, as it says in the title of the article, when you say Zionist. You're just talking about Jews. Okay, it's the same thing. You're trying to use the words interchangeably. All right, so let me know what you think about this. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Seth Mandel? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.